Hey, welcome back. So I have a brand new video for you today. So today I want to talk about something that we all thought about at one point or another. Yes, I'm talking about not believing we are good enough or we are talented enough. I like to challenge that mindset today by giving you a few other perspectives on it. All right, let's get to it. The number one barrier to acquiring a new skill is having those self-limiting beliefs that we carry around. And this is especially true for street photography. And as I mentioned before, self-limiting beliefs such as, I don't have enough talent, I don't know anything about camera and settings, I'm not good enough. Those are all valid points to a degree, and especially if you're a beginner. There are people out there who are just good at everything, and then there are the rest of us. We have to work and grow and learn and grind every day to get that talent out there. If you start out something new with the self-limiting belief and the preconceived notion that you're not good at something, coming from maybe a little bit of negative mindset, then you are setting yourself up for failure. For example, if you're thinking as a beginner that I need to start using manual mode because all the pros are doing it, then maybe you should reframe it and think maybe I should start out on auto mode or maybe just aperture priority mode until I understand the camera basics and can use manual mode in time. So how do we overcome those self-limiting beliefs? To be honest, it doesn't happen over time, but a good place to start is by identifying those self-limiting beliefs. Then ask yourself, number one, recognize that it's just a belief. Number two, challenge your own belief. Number three, adopt a new belief. And number four, put it into practice. Reframing is a great technique to overcome those self-limiting beliefs. So let's continue with the same example of I'm not good enough, and let's try to reframe it. I'm going to do the best I can with my current skill level and my ability. That way you are framing something that is slightly negative and turning it into more positive. You are turning the mindset around by saying that I will do the best I can do and not putting a lot of pressure on yourself. So let's try another example. Another example could be I'm learning something new every time I pick up my camera. And again, that is more from a positive mindset, a positive point of view, instead of saying I'm not good at something. Of course, if you're starting out something new, you're not going to be good at something overnight or just within a few weeks. It takes time and it takes really a lot of practice. Let me give you an example of my own self-limiting belief when I was just getting into street photography. So I had the self-limiting belief that I wasn't creative enough to do street photography. And for the longest time, I held on to that self-limiting belief. And it was only when I realized that it was just a belief that was up here in my head, I started to challenge that. I can continue to go out and practice, and I also told myself that I'm a beginner, I'm learning and growing, and I will allow myself that time. And then I adopted a new belief that I will allow myself to learn and grow because we have to start somewhere, all of us. And then I put it into practice, and I did that by going out, continuously going out on photo walks, and I put in the hours and I learned everything about how to operate a camera, and that way I got momentum and I started to see progress. Another topic is willingness to learn, and this is especially true for street photography. We have to keep learning and developing ourselves by continuously going out and practice. Simply put, willingness to learn is being open to or seeking out new experiences, skills, and information to improve our abilities and enjoyment. So the formal definition says that we have to keep an open mind. And learning something new is hard, it takes time, and it also takes patience before we can expect to see any decent results. And then there is the learning curve. And the learning curve is really steep in photography, especially in the beginning. And it takes time for the brain to understand and process all those different photography aspects. And there are many aspects. Let me just give you an example of the exposure triangle. This is the most basic thing you can learn about a camera, and most people don't understand it. And there's one thing about understanding the theory behind it, and another thing is going out and practice it. So there's a lot of different aspects, and again, it comes down to the willingness of being able to continue to learn. And there's a saying in the photography community that your 10,000 first photos are your worst, so you have plenty of room to try and fail. You will only get better. There will be days where nothing makes sense no matter how hard you try. So it's really important to remember, end of the day, you have to be willing to keep learning and growing and adapting that behavior. So putting in the time to practice. I've said it so many times, practice, practice, practice. How are you going to be good at anything if you don't go out and practice? What I do personally is that I slot in my photo walks, and in the beginning I did 2 photo walks a week. And also coming from that mindset of willingness to learn, you have to apply it, put it into practice, and you can only do that by picking up your camera and go outside. So the next topic is only focusing on one area at a time. So basically what I mean here is that don't overwhelm yourself by having multiple focus areas. And if you already are nailing your self-limiting beliefs and turning those into something positive, you're willing to learn and adapt that behavior, and you're also putting in the time, my only advice to you will be to only have one focus area at a time. And for the example of basic camera theory, the exposure triangle, you have the ISO, shutter, and aperture. I would recommend you to really understand all of these aspects individually and in combination. So what are the pros and cons with having ISO? What does low ISO mean? What does high ISO mean? And what does aperture mean in terms of ISO? So how are they interlinked? It's very, very important that you dedicate enough time to understand all these aspects before you move on, and try to understand by going out and practice. And it will take some time to really understand it. It will be hard, but it will be worth the effort in the long run. A few final thoughts from my side. I'm a firm believer that anything can be learned if we put our minds to it. Yes, it's going to be hard, but if you keep an open mind, you're willing to learn, and you go out and put in the hours on the streets by doing street photography, I'm pretty sure you will develop a talent over time. Take care. See you in the next one.